I don't know if you've had this experience before. In Windhoek, we're slightly limited because of just the fact that our city's not that big, but if you've been to maybe Cape Town, Joburg, or any other international city, is that if you're in a building, say an office block, and then you look across the road or across the street, and you look at another office block or building that has these glass panels, you see a reflection of your office building. You ever seen that before? Sort of know where we're going? Now in Windhoek, I've kind of gone scouting for locations and only found maybe like 2 or 3 places to do that. We don't exactly have too many buildings that you can actually do this with. But what you'll notice is that the reflection is not always perfect. The buildings sometimes have these jagged edges, and then all of a sudden you see a reflection of the building next door, or there's the reflection of the road or the street or the people walking by. It's never a perfect reflection. The reason why that reflection is not perfect is because every panel of glass is not perfectly put next to each other. Some of them, there'll be larger gaps just because of the construction. Some of them will be slightly at a different angle just because of the fact that it's very difficult for it to be 100% perfect. Now, I had the opportunity to be in Taiwan, and there's a park in the center of one of the cities in Taiwan where there's a building or there's a wall that has been built with these mirrors on. And I don't know how they did it, but they managed to put those mirrors so perfectly together that when you stand in front of it, you see this almost near perfect reflection of the park behind you with these statues and these trees. It's an incredible sight to see. It's almost overwhelming because you feel like you're looking through the city into this forest or into this park, and it's beautiful. But one of the things that's extremely difficult to do and extremely difficult for us is to, when we create things, especially when there's mirrors involved and anything that can reflect, is for there to be an authentic reflection. Even some of the mirrors that you would have in your house, or some of them are slightly bent and you look a little bit thinner or fatter or taller. You can see a good quality mirror from a bad quality mirror. But the question that I have for you today is your business, is your online presence, is it an authentic reflection of your business or organization? It is essential for you to be doing business in a real way, that whatever is reflected online, because this is the field that I work in. I'm a digital entrepreneur, so I have a bunch of startups that are in the digital space. Also do marketing consulting for companies and brands in the digital space. And the biggest challenge that I have is to go in front of a company or to look at a company's brand and say, how do we put your company online so that it's an authentic reflection? And we've had everybody from Kun starting off all the way through to Michael now that has spoken. Everybody has given a sense of an essence of why authenticity is important. Why should we be doing business that is real? Why should we be authentic in what we do? But the challenge is when we go into the digital space, how do we do that? Because I'm sure you've heard this statement before, fake it until you make it. And in Namibia, that is rampant, especially among younger millennial entrepreneurs, is that they don't have the experience, they don't have necessarily have not only just the work experience, they don't have the education or just the support and everything to actually be able to do things in a legitimate, authentic, original way. And so what they do is, online, they create this persona of their business or their brand, which is not authentic. And it's easy to do that. We live in a world that where fake news can be. I can't remember who spoke about paying for the. Gustav here spoke about it, and that's rampant. The whole thing that happened with the fake news around the presidential elections in the U.S. were a bunch of teenagers sitting in a country in another continent who thought it would be fun to make fake news, and it was an entertaining thing for them. It wasn't. They weren't being malicious. They were just, because they could do it, they would do it. And I just 2 days ago watched a documentary of how a non-existent restaurant managed to get to the top of the list, number 1 position in London, as being the top-rated restaurant in London, and it never existed. It was a journalist and an SEO specialist who managed to figure out how to gun the system, and I think he did it in 18 months, to get a restaurant to number 1. Is that a true reflection? Absolutely not. But the digital space allows us to be able to manipulate things. And it's very easy. How many of you on Instagram? Although Facebook has it on Twitter and pretty much all of them. There's so many filters that you can put on your photographs that can take out the imperfections and can make you look different. And just the way you stand or the angle of the camera can change the perception. And is not necessarily a true reflection of you. And the same is in business. It's easy to manipulate the digital space for you to portray an image that is not necessarily a true reflection of your business. And so I believe that of the many panels of glass and that you can have to build your business, or that you have which represents your physical business, or what we like to call the real life business, is that there are 4 that I focus on, especially with my clients, and 4 that I've spent the most amount of time with. And if you've been to some of the chapter meetings for the Professional Speakers Association in Namibia, you've heard me talk on these before. But I want to look at 4 panels of glass, 4 panels which reflect your business. And in the context of authenticity and of being authentic, is 4 panels which reflect your business online. And the very first one, actually, before I get there, I want to just read this quote because I think it ties in very nicely what has been said before and where I want to go with it. It says, authenticity means erasing the gap between what you firmly believe on the inside. And let's just say that for this context is in what it is that your business does in real life, and what you reveal to the outside world or what you put online. So authenticity means erasing the gap between those two, making it so that they are as identical as possible. That's what true authenticity is, especially online, which is actually extremely difficult to do. So I want to just look at 4 panels of glass, and I'm going to hopefully give you something that you can take home. And this is for anybody. This is not just for the marketing team or for the HR team. This is for whether you're in sales, whether you're in finance, because ultimately what reflects who your company is. It's not just the people that are putting your brand out there. The person who answers the telephone at your reception reflects your company, reflects everything that they believe. They reflect your core values. Is that, and that goes down to the driver. That goes down to the stock taker or the stock keeper or the person who receives stock in your company if you have physical goods. So everybody contributes to that reflection. And so everything that you do digitally also contributes to the reflection of your company or organization. So the first one I speak about is content. Now, in the real world, content would be whatever your business is. If you had to have a table of content and you were making a nice profile of your business, whatever was in that table of contents, so your profile, the products and services that you offer, the skill sets that you have in your company, everything that makes your business what your business is, that's your content. And that goes across the board, whether you are in retail, whether you're a service provider, and it doesn't matter in which industries you are. Then the second pane of glass that I'm going to look at is context. If I can go back. And context represents demographic. In the real world, when we speak about context, it's who's your target market, who's the target consumer, who's the target person who you're wanting to provide your services to. And context is incredibly important because if you don't understand who your market is, then you might actually have the wrong content. And what I have found, and I know that Annie's going to speak next about sales, I'm presuming, is that if you have the wrong content, in other words, if you have the wrong product and you're trying to sell it to the wrong person, it's incredibly difficult to do that. You have to match product with the market. It's like they're saying it's really difficult. You would have to be an incredible salesperson, I guess you would have to be Andy, to be able to sell ice to an Eskimo. Exactly. See? So I'm sure he could do that. But the thing is that is what context is. Context is understanding your market. Then the third pane of glass that I want to look at is cadence. Now what cadence is something, musically speaking, cadence is known as style in music. It's the variations in pitch of somebody's voice. It's how fast things happen and the slow parts. And if you watch movies or if you listen to even operas or any music should be, although today's music is a bit monotone, so you don't really always hear the cadence in it. But it starts off slow and it builds up, and then you have this moment in either the music or in this movie where everything happens. It kind of comes together. It's a crescendo of, and then it calms down. That is known as your cadence, and it's the style. And every company has style. Some maybe a little bit more than others. And this is not just style about how you dress and that. This is actually your brand. This is how you are presenting what it is that you're presenting. Are you formal? Are you informal? Is your company fun? Is your company exciting? Is it more adventurous? Is it more technical? Is it more bold? Is it dynamic? Or is it something that is more traditional? There's so many different styles out there, but style is an important way because it represents your company. And then the fourth pane of glass that I want to look at that reflects your company is the channel. And the channel, when we speak in the real world or in your physical company, your brick and mortar company, this is your distribution channels. Do you have a shop front that people can come to in a mall? Or are you the type of person that goes knocking on door to door? Do you sell through cold calling on the phone, or do you rely on salespeople that go out and do pitches? What channel do you use to sell your product? Now, when we look online, channel represents obviously things like your website or your blog or social media channels that you use or a newsletter through email. So I'm going to look at those four. That is the content, context, cadence, and channel. Now, I believe that these are when it comes to the online representation of your business, they represent the four most important. But by no means are they the only four. There are hundreds of different things that reflect your company, but I just want to look at these four. So the unique content created within a defined context, delivered via a channel with a specific cadence, this is the reflection of a business or organization online. Those four things. And those four things are in relation to one another. It's very important to realize that they are not solo things. They're not panels of glass all on their own. They have to work together. And so if you can imagine with me, these are four panels of glass. And I'm going to just show you how these four panels of glass work together to best reflect your company or organization in an authentic way. So in the first pane of glass is content. The next one is context. Then we have cadence. And then we're going to look at the channels. So the best way for me to explain this to you is I have to give you an example of what it would look like in the real world. Because we become very technical if I had to break down everything. So what I've done, I'm going to create some hypothetical environments, but I'm sure that you could all to some degree be able to relate to it. And then I want to use that just for you to show you how these four work together to reflect an authentic image of your company or organization online. Content and context are in relation to one another, just as cadence and content is in relation. And the same applies to the channels that you use. And the same will apply to the channel and the cadence, the style that you use. And I'm sure you can get the picture that it all works together in a fine balance. And just as a real quick example, if you're on Instagram, you'll know that the pictures there are generally of a better quality. They kind of show life as life is going on. They don't always necessarily have to be very slick, but they need to represent life. But if you just go and you say, for example, are a company that sells nuts and bolts to the motor industry, and you go and put 1,000 pictures on Instagram of every single nut and bolt that you sell on a white background, that's not quite the style that will fit the channel that you're using. So that's a really random example of just understanding that there's that balance behind it. And the same thing between the content and the context. You can't go and put highly technical information about your company. Say, for example, you supply computers to let's just say, to everyday office users. You don't need to have every single spec and manufacturer and comparison on there when you're selling to somebody that might not even have the technical knowledge of knowing the difference between a gig and a megabyte. So you need to make sure that your content and the style that you use, the cadence and the channel you use, and as well as then the context is all aligned properly. And I'm going to give you an example in a real world scenario. So the first one is, let's think of a company. It's a very small business. Let's just say it's an SME or just a very small financial business. It's a small financial company. Let's just say there's 5 people working in the company. And they sell financial services at a personal level. So they don't do corporate. Their main is just everyday people. And the 5 members of the company are all, let's just say they're over the age of 40, and together they have a cumulative knowledge of 75 years. All right. And currently the way that they are selling themselves online or that they're promoting themselves is through a website and through social media. We have a bit of a picture of the business. And I have some smiles, but it's not your example. let's just take it and just explore this a little bit deeper, because it's too general for me to be able to explain to you how to align these properly. So if you look at the company works in the financial space, but let's just say that they sell investments, and these are investments that are targeted more, say, to the age group 30 to 50-year-olds, and then if you know LSMs are 7 or 10 LSM, and then they also do smaller insurance packages, and they're a seller for insurance company, and they target 25-year-olds to 35-year-olds. So they're trying to get into this younger audience. Then the reason why we say they're formal, they try to be casual, but they want to be professional. Obviously, the target audience is higher LSMs, but they want to be formal and technical. They have 75 years of experience. Everybody there is above the age of 40, so they're in that generation. And let's just break down their website. There's that they have a website, and they have Facebook, and they have LinkedIn. So we're all on the same page, get a bit of a picture of this business. The idea is, how do you align all of this so that there's an authentic reflection of the business? I'm going to give just a little bit of insight into this business. Is that everybody's over the age of 40, but the two founding partners are over the age of 50. And one of them never uses a computer, still wants to receive a fax, and this would be my father. And we'll print out the fax and then have somebody scan the fax and email it if somebody needs that. But he wants the fax. And the other partner is still very stuck in his traditional ways. He was formerly a lawyer, and the other partner was a chartered accountant. The other people that make up the business are the people that sell the product, are also all over the age of 40. So you get the idea where they are. Now they're trying to sell their products. Their investment products is more targeted towards an older group of people, and also that have more money. So they're the perfect people. They're above 40 years old. They have a huge amount of experience, but they don't really have people that can sell to a 25-year-old. Trying to get a 40-year-old trying to get a 25-year-old to do anything is difficult, let alone trying to sell to them. So if you wanted to match these and get a true reflection of the company, we have to maybe separate some of this. And this is what I like to do with my clients. I like for them to have a look at their company, and to have a look at their physical business, what they do, and then say, how do we break this up so that it best represents you online? So imagine with me if you take this and you split each window pane in half. Now in construction, one of the best ways if you want to level off something, is you're going to use a level. You all know what a level looks like. It's got the little spirit thing inside, and it will swing from left to right to tell you how level it is. And the best way to see if something that's flat is meant to be level is to put it horizontally across. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get these panels of glass to be as level as possible, so the reflection is the most authentic. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those products, and we're going to take the content, the context, the cadence, and the channel, and we're going to split it up so that we get the right reflection. So in the first one is that the company's main money maker is actually investments. They do sell some insurance, but that's not where their big business is. So on this half, which is closer towards the center, we're going to put investments. The next one is we're going to look at the target audience, or we're going to look at the context in which they do business. And then we're going to look at their style, their cadence, which is more formal and technical, because when it comes to investments and you're looking at an older group of people that need to be targeted, they will understand the technical a whole lot more. They will have the savviness, and they will probably want to be treated in a more formal way. And then then there's the casual but professional. This is another approach that they want to have. The next is you have a website and you have LinkedIn, is what I would recommend that they would use in order to reflect what they do in their business. And then you also have Facebook. So what you see is in the center now, which is in the inner part, is the core of the business, is the main products, the main thing that they do. And this is what you want to reflect from your company, the main things that you do. You want people to come onto your website, come onto LinkedIn, and see what is it that truly reflects what it is that your business does. You don't want them to go on there and every single post they see is trying to sell insurance for your new Volkswagen Golf. Because most of the people that you're trying to service probably drive BMWs or Mercedes or Jags. Most probably. I'm probably projecting a little bit there. So you want to make sure that when they come to and read your LinkedIn profile, that they are seeing information and content that is about investments, and that it's for the right age group. So that's how I would take this business, and this is how I would align this business online, so that they are an authentic reflection of that company or organization. So if I had to sum it up and tell them in one sentence, this is what you need to do: create unique investment-focused content that is applicable and relatable to 30 to 50-year-olds in upper LSMs, and use a formal or technical style for your content on your website and share it on LinkedIn. This is what I would tell them. I would say to them, if you want to reflect your business in the best way, after just spending a few minutes with them, this is the advice that I would give them. And I want to just give you now, how many of you think this is fairly logical? Like, you can show your hands if you think it's logical. It is fairly logical. But how many companies make massive mistakes with this? Now, I'm going to give an example of this. There is a company, and I'm not going to mention any names. Nobody in this room is here, but I don't like to badmouth. But there was a company that was in financial services, a small company. Mainly, the staff complement were probably 45 and up, so they had a huge amount of wisdom and knowledge, but they also realized they weren't reaching any younger people. So they were only doing investments. They were looking at various types of investments. So they thought they would get a youngster on board, and they didn't have a website, didn't do social media, so they think if we get a youngster on board, they will automatically know how to do social media. And this, they'll bring somebody who's just studied finance and has some knowledge with that. So I started noticing that there were a ton of posts about cryptocurrencies and about Bitcoin and about all these things, and I'm fairly interested in that. I've invested in it, and I know there's people in the room here that probably don't like that concept. But anyway, they were pushing it, they were promoting it, but they weren't really promoting it. They were just like, every time there was something new about it, and if any of you have been following it over the last 6 months, there's a lot of news about it. So their whole entire Facebook feed and Twitter feed was cryptocurrency. So I phoned them, because they left their number, and because I've been trying to figure out some things with cryptocurrency myself. And I phoned them and say, hi, can I buy cryptocurrency through you? And the lady says, what is cryptocurrency? That answers the phone. I'm like, your business does cryptocurrencies and stuff. And she says, I have no idea, let me call somebody. Elder gentleman, I'm presuming he's an elder gentleman. I speak to him and he says, that's absolutely not what we do. And I'm saying, but it's all over your Facebook page. Oh no, that's just the guy that we've employed who does our stuff, and he thinks it's interesting and that. The thing is, your Facebook page and your LinkedIn and everything, that's a reflection of your company. And so, I would love to go there and give them some consulting ideas, and we had a bit of a 2-minute conversation about it. And you would think it would be logical, but it's not necessarily that's forefront. And this is not somebody who's in marketing. This is not somebody who's responsible for the brand or anything. This is just somebody that is reflecting the company, but inaccurately reflecting the company. So I'm going to give another example. I'm going to give an example about fashion. But fashion is something that I am interested in, and I've spent some time in the fashion industry locally as well. But I want to give an example, and this is a real life example. Let's just say a real simplified example of something that's in a very real life scenario. So I follow a lot of people on LinkedIn, and I especially follow entrepreneurs and people that are in marketing and entrepreneurs in marketing. And one of them, there was a lady, and she had a huge following on LinkedIn, massive. I think 30 or 40,000. Now that's quite a bit for the standard LinkedIn, where the standard LinkedIn person maybe has about 500 to maybe 1,000 if you've put some effort into it. So I was following her, and she had really good advice about marketing and that. And then all of a sudden, I started getting these pictures of these models in lingerie and bikinis on LinkedIn. Now, if you know about LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a business network, and it's meant to be a professional network. And the comments on it would be, is this hot or not? And I'm like, why is this here? Like, this is the most random thing ever. So I did a bit of digging, and I went back, and I found out that she has an Instagram page that has over 100,000 followers. And I found out that she was a model, and that she was working in the fashion industry as a marketing consultant, but then she became a partner for a company that manufactures and sells bikinis and lingerie. And so her modeling background meant that her Instagram exploded because she had now all these pictures. But then she was posting the stuff onto LinkedIn, which is an inappropriate channel for it. Her 30,000, after massive arguments, because people were just, some people saying you shouldn't put the content on, other people saying let her be, it's her business, she can do what she likes. Her 30,000 went down to 7,000 in a period of maybe 3 or 4 weeks. That's the danger that can come from by not understanding your content, your channel, the context of your people, as well as the style that is used. So let's just I'm going to give a fashion example. Here is a very small fashion designer, a local fashion designer. I'm making this up as I go. and does women's fashion. And it's a fun brand. Let's just say it's a fun brand, and there's websites and social media. I'm going to break it down a little bit more, as I would do with all of my clients. And she does swimwear and sporty outdoor wear, kind of like what you would run with or train with, and that. And she actually targets trendy teenagers to young adults, as well as then sporty, active young adults. That's her target market. Fun, she'd rather be seen as an upbeat or spontaneous, yet she wants to be motivational because she does outdoor and sporty stuff. Now, this is the kind of, when I break down, is when I spend time with my clients, I like to find out from them more. I like to get more out of them. So when they tell me I'm in fashion, I need to know a little bit more about what they do in fashion. So I'm doing a quick consultation with a non-existent company. And basically, in the social media, they're doing websites, Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. So what I like to do is I'm going to do the little triangle again, try to balance off those panes of glass. And if you will allow me, I'm going to fly through these because of time. And so the first one is that her main brand is actually sports and outdoor wear. Then she wants to target that towards sporty 18-year-olds to 35-year-old women. And she wants to be fun with it, but she still wants to be motivational. And she wants to use her blog and Pinterest and Facebook for that because she feels like her images will be best used there. Then obviously on the outside is her swimwear, which is more for teenagers and for young adults, but she doesn't really do too much of that. And she wants there to be fun and spontaneous. And she has a webshop. Obviously, that's where she wants to send her traffic, is to people to buy. But to be motivational, she wants to send traffic more to her blog. This is what I would say to this lady, is that if you want your business to be a good reflection of your real life business online, then I would say create unique sport and outdoor focused content that is applicable and relatable to women who are between 18 and 35 years of age. Use a fun yet motivational style for content and blog about it, and then share on Pinterest and Facebook. This is how I think the other lady in the real world example should have focused on her products. But instead she did damage to her brand on not all of her channels, but on one channel. She could have posted far better quality content on LinkedIn and it would have still worked, but she didn't need to necessarily put lingerie and bikinis all over it. So does that make sense? All right. So if I can see where we are. This is how I want to leave you with in your mind about what being authentic is online. And being authentic online means aligning every aspect of your online presence. So everything that you do online, whether it's an email that you send out, whether it's your newsletter, whether it's your Facebook page, your Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, doesn't matter what platform you're on, is to align every aspect of your online presence with that of your physical business, so that you become indistinguishable from one another. What you put out on Facebook should be indistinguishable about what somebody finds in your shop. There needs to be that reflection. Now, it's not necessarily easy, because you might ask me, well, then what content should I share? Well, I don't have time to go into that, but I want you to think about these four panes of glass, which is your content, your context that your content is in, as well as the style, the cadence, and then also the channel.